Bitcoin causing carbon dioxide emissions comparable to Las Vegas or Hamburg. The use of Bitcoin causes around 22 megatons in CO2 emissions annually, comparable to the total emissions of cities such as Hamburg or Las Vegas. That is the conclusion of the most detailed analysis to date of the cryptocurrency's carbon footprint. For their study, an interdisciplinary team of researchers at the Technical University of Munich (TUM) analyzed such data as the IPO filings of hardware manufacturers and the IP addresses of Bitcoin miners. Although Bitcoin is a virtual currency, the energy consumption associated with its use is very real. For a Bitcoin transfer to be executed and validated, a mathematical puzzle must be solved by an arbitrary computer in the global Bitcoin network. The network, which anyone can join, rewards the puzzle solvers in Bitcoin. The computing capacity used in this process, known as Bitcoin mining, has increased rapidly in recent years. Statistics show that it quadrupled in 2018 alone. Consequently, the Bitcoin boom raises the question of whether the cryptocurrency is imposing an additional burden on the climate. Several studies have attempted to quantify the CO2 emissions caused by Bitcoin mining. These studies are based on a number of approximations, however, says Christian Stoll, who conducts research at the Technical University of Munich (TUM) and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT). Detective work to track down the power consumption. Therefore, a team of management sciences and informatics researchers at TUM has carried out the most detailed calculation of the carbon footprint of the Bitcoin system to date. Working like detectives, they proceeded step by step to gather conclusive data. The team began by calculating the power consumption of the network. This depends primarily on the hardware used for Bitcoin mining. Today special systems are used, known as ASIC-based miners, explains Stoll. In 2018 the three manufacturers who control the ASIC miner market planned IPOs. The team used the mandatory IPO filings to calculate the market shares of the company's respective products. The study also had to consider whether the mining was being done by someone running just one miner at home or in one of the large-scale farms set up in recent years by professional operators. In those operations, extra energy is needed just for the cooling of the data center, says Stoll. To investigate the orders of magnitude involved, the team used statistics released by a public pool of different miners showing the computing power of its members. 68% of computing power located in Asia. The researchers determined the annual electricity consumption by Bitcoin, as of November 2018, to be about 46 terawatt-hours. And how much CO2 is emitted when this energy is generated? Here, too, the research team wanted to go beyond mere estimates. The key question, therefore, where are the miners located? Once again, live tracking data from the mining pools provided the decisive information. In these groups, miners combine their computing power in order to get a quicker turn in the reward for solving puzzles, similar to people in lottery pools, explains Stoll. The IP addresses in the statistics published by the two biggest pools showed that miners tend to join pools in or near their home countries. Based on these data, the team was able to localize 68% of the Bitcoin network computing power in Asian countries, 17% in European countries, and 15% in North America. The researchers cross-checked this conclusion against the results of another method by localizing the IP addresses of individual miners using an Internet of Things search engine. They then combined their results with statistics on the carbon intensity of power generation in the various countries, linking large-scale mining operations to renewable energy production. The conclusion of the study, the Bitcoin system has a carbon footprint of between 22 and 22.9 megatons per year. That is comparable to the footprint of such cities as Hamburg, Vienna or Las Vegas. Naturally, there are bigger factors contributing to climate change. However, the carbon footprint is big enough to make it worth discussing the possibility of regulating cryptocurrency mining in regions where power generation is especially carbon-intensive, says Christian Stoll. To improve the ecological balance, one possibility might be to link more mining farms to additional renewable generating capacity. Decoding Beethoven's music style using data science. EPFL researchers are investigating Beethoven's composition style, and they are using statistical techniques to quantify and explore the patterns that characterize musical structures in the Western classical tradition. They confirm what is expected against the backdrop of music theory for the classical music era, but go beyond a music theoretical approach by statistically characterizing the musical language of Beethoven for the very first time. Their study is based on the set of compositions known as the Beethoven String Quartets, and the results are published in PLOS One on June 6, 2019. New state-of-the-art methods in statistics and data science make it possible for us to analyze music in ways that were out of reach for traditional musicology. The young field of digital musicology is currently advancing a whole new range of methods and perspectives, says Martin Rohrmeyer, who leads EPFL's Digital and Cognitive Musicology Lab (DCML) in the College of Humanities Digital Humanities Institute. The aim of our lab is to understand how music works. The Beethoven String Quartets refer to 16 quartets encompassing 70 single movements that Beethoven composed throughout his lifetime. He completed his first string quartet composition at the turn of the 19th century when he was almost 30 years old, and the last in 1826 shortly before his death. A string quartet is a musical ensemble of 4 musicians playing string instruments, 2 violins, the viola, and the cello. From music analysis to big data. For the study, Rohrmeyer and colleagues plowed through the scores of all 16 of Beethoven's string quartets in digital and annotated form. The most time-consuming part of the work has been to generate the dataset based on 10,000s of annotations by music theoretical experts. We essentially generated a large digital resource from Beethoven's music scores to look for patterns, says Fabian C. Moss, first author of the PLOS One study. When played, the string quartets represent over 8 hours of music. The scores themselves contain almost 30,000 chord annotations. A chord is a set of notes that sound at the same time, and a note corresponds to a pitch. In music analysis, chords can be classified according to the role they play in the musical piece. 2 well-known types of chords are called the dominant and the tonic, which have central roles for the buildup of tension and release and for establishing musical phrases. But there is a large number of types of chords, including many variants of the dominant and tonic chords. The Beethoven string quartets contain over 1,000 different types of these chords. Our approach exemplifies the growing research field of digital humanities, in which data science methods and digital technologies are used to advance our understanding of real-world sources, such as literary texts, music or paintings, under new digital perspectives, explains co-author Marcus Neuwirth. Beethoven's statistical signature. Beethoven's creative choices are now apparent through the filter of statistical analysis, thanks to this new data set generated by the researchers. The study finds that very few chords govern most of the music, a phenomenon that is also known in linguistics, where very few words dominate language corpora. As expected from music theory on music from the classical period, the study shows that the compositions are particularly dominated by the dominant and tonic chords and their many variants. Also, the most frequent transition from one chord to the next happens from the dominant to the tonic. The researchers also found that chords strongly select for their order and, thus, define the direction of musical time. But the statistical methodology reveals more. It characterizes Beethoven's specific composition style for the string quartets, through a distribution of all the chords he used, how often they occur, and how they commonly transition from one to the other. In other words, it captures Beethoven's composition style with a statistical signature. This is just the beginning, explains Moss. We are continuing our work by extending the datasets to cover a broad range of composers and historical periods, and invite other researchers to join our search for the statistical basis of the inner workings of music. Mathematicians work out how to predict success in show business. Mathematicians from Queen Mary University of London have found a way to predict whether an actor's career has peaked or if their most successful days lie ahead. They discovered that an actor's most productive year, defined as the year with the largest number of credited jobs, is towards the beginning of their career. Clear signals preceding and following this annus mirabilis enable them to predict with around 85% accuracy if it has passed or not. The study, published in the journal Nature Communications, also describes how the vast majority of actors and actresses, around 70%, have careers that only last for 1 year. These one-hit wonders are the norm rather than the exception, as long careers with lots of jobs are rare, suggesting a scarcity of resources in the acting world. Using data presented by Internet Movie Database (IMDb), the researchers studied the careers of 1,512,472 actors and 896,029 actresses around the world from 1888, when the first film was made, up to 2016 to analyze and predict success on the silver screen. They found that careers are clustered into hot and cold streaks, as individuals do not tend to work at a steady rate in a business where unemployment rates hover at around 90%. There is also huge evidence of gender bias in the industry, as most of the patterns observed were different for actors and actresses. For instance, actors are more likely to find work after a cold streak, while an actress's most productive year is more likely be at the start of their career. Also, when careers last more than 1 year, it is more common to find actresses with shorter career lengths than actors. The researchers were inspired to look into this after previous studies had analyzed the career success of scientists and artists, which was found to be unpredictable. They aim to define, quantify and predict the success of actors and actresses in terms of their ability to maintain a steady flow of jobs. Oliver Williams, one of the authors of the study from Queen Mary University of London, said, "Only a select few will ever be awarded an Oscar or have their hands on the Walk of Fame, but this is not important to the majority of actors and actresses who simply want to make a living, which is probably a better way of quantifying success in such a tough industry." Our results shed light on the underlying social dynamics taking place in show business and raise questions about the fairness of the system. Our predictive model for actors is also far from the randomness that is displayed for scientists and artists. The researchers found that the total number of jobs in a career is underpinned by a rich get richer phenomenon. In other words, the best-known actors get the most jobs. This result is not unexpected. After all, the more well-known an actor is, the more likely producers will want him or her in their next film, if only for commercial purposes. What is interesting about this observation is that rich get richer effects are well known to develop out of arbitrary and unpredictable random events that get amplified. So an actor's success could be down to circumstance rather than their acting ability. This is known as the network effect. The study also shows that actors with long cold streaks who then experience late comebacks are rare but difficult to predict, and as such the destiny of each actor is not entirely determined. Dr. Lucas Lacasa, another author of the study from Queen Mary University of London, said, "We think the approach and methods developed in this paper could be of interest to the film industry. For example, they could provide complementary data analytics to IMDb. This does also bring with it a number of open questions. We have assumed that there is nothing anyone can do to change their fortunes, but we have not shown that this has to be the case. Consequently, we are interested in finding out how an individual might best improve their chances of future success." The researchers hope that their method will contribute to the new science of success and that refined versions of the prediction model will be even more accurate. Dr. Lacasa added, "This research has sparked a lot of attention from unexpected places, including from a screenwriter from the film industry who is now developing a movie script partly based on our findings. Phase transitions, the math behind the music. Next time you listen to a favorite tune or wonder at the beauty of a natural sound, you might also end up pondering the math behind the music. You will, anyway, if you spend any time talking with Jesse Berezovsky, an associate professor of physics at Case Western Reserve University. The longtime science researcher and a part-time viola player has become consumed with understanding and explaining the connective tissue between the two disciplines, more specifically, how the ordered structure of music emerges from the general chaos of sound. Why is music composed according to so many rules? Why do we organize sounds in this way to create music? He asks on a short explainer video he recently made about his research. To address that question, we can borrow methods from a related question. How do atoms in a random gas or liquid come together to form a particular crystal? Phase transitions in physics, music. The answer in physics and music, Berezovsky argues, is called phase transitions and comes about because of a balance between order and disorder, or entropy, he said. We can look at a balance, or a competition, between dissonance and entropy of sound, and see that phase transitions can also occur from disordered sound to the ordered structures of music, he said. Mixing math and music is not new. Mathematicians have long been fascinated with the structure of music. The American Mathematical Society, for example, devotes part of its web page https://www.ams.org/publicoutreach/math-and-music to exploring the idea Pythagoras. Anyone? There is geometry in the humming of the strings, there is music in the spacing of the spheres. But Berezovsky contends that much of the thinking, until now, has been a top-down approach, applying mathematical ideas to existing musical compositions as a way of understanding already existing music. He contends he's uncovering the emergent structures of musical harmony inherent in the art, just as order comes from disorder in the physical world. He believes that could mean a whole new way of looking at music of the past, present and future. I believe that this model could shed light on the very structures of harmony, particularly in Western music, Berezovsky said. But we can take it further. These ideas could provide a new lens for studying the entire system of tuning and harmony across cultures and across history, maybe even a roadmap for exploring new ideas in those areas. Or for any of us, maybe it's just another way of just appreciating music, seeing the emergence of music the way we do the formation of snowflakes or gemstones. Emergent structures in music. Berezovsky said his theory is more than just an illustration of how we think about music. Instead, he says the mathematical structure is actually the fundamental underpinning of music itself, making the resultant octaves and other arrangements a foregone conclusion, not an arbitrary invention by humans. His research, published May 17 in the journal Science Advances, aims to explain why basic ordered patterns emerge in music, using the same statistical mechanics framework that describes emergent order across phase transitions in physical systems. In other words, the same universal principles that guide the arrangement of atoms when they organize into a crystal from a gas or liquid are also behind the fact that phase transitions occur in this model from disordered sound to discrete sets of pitches, including the 12-fold octave division used in Western music. The theory also speaks to why we enjoy music, because it is caught in the tension between being too dissonant and too complex. A single note played continuously would completely lack dissonance, low energy, but would be wholly uninteresting to the human ear, while an overly complex piece of music, high entropy, is generally not pleasing to the human ear. Most music, across time and cultures, exists in that tension between the two extremes, Berezovsky said.